I'm currently part of a 30-state action against Meta.
Good.
We are arguing that they have crafted the apps to basically be addictive, to induce compulsive use, particularly among kids. And we're trying to recover for all the harms and all the deception when they've said their apps are safe, but they're not.
I really do feel like we're in the dark.
So when I say the city attorney can sue any company for anything unlawful, unfair, or deceptive, it is fraud.
What does a city attorney do? Hi, everyone. Welcome to Empowered with Gina podcast. I have an incredibly inspirational guest here today, Miss Marissa Roy, who is running for LA City Attorney. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Gina.
I'm so happy. So I have been a fangirl of yours for a while because obviously you're so powerful and brave and courageous to enter this race for LA City Attorney. But also, you know, we're attorneys, so we're like sisters in the law.
Well, I've been a fangirl of yours for probably even longer, way before I started running for office.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. So here we are. We're going to do great things together. I always start my podcast asking my guests to describe themselves with 3 adjectives.
Oh.
I know. The hardest question you'll get today.
I think number 1, curious. Number 2, somewhere maybe between fearless and reckless sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think the 3rd is community-centered.
I love that. So tell me, who was little Marissa Roy? Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like in a snapshot?
Yeah, I grew up in Monrovia, and being in a multiracial daughter of an immigrant mom with a gay younger brother, that was a lot in Monrovia.
Wow, yeah.
So we were always, I always felt a little bit out of place, and particularly for my younger brother, I was always sticking up for him against bullies who would say he's not a normal boy. And really, when Proposition 8 passed and took away gay marriage, that was the moment I realized, like, people are voting on my family. My neighbor had the yes on Prop 8 signs, and it was something I couldn't protect him from anymore. And so when the San Francisco city attorney sued and overturned Prop 8, that was my light bulb moment of wanting to become a lawyer. I was 16.
And you distinctly remember?
It's like the moment that changed my life, the moment where I realized this is what lawyers can do, is they can stand up for families like mine. And I think we all have that moment that motivated us to want to, to find our life path and our life career. And I think for a lot of us, it comes down to family. So for me, my entire why I became a lawyer at the end of the day is about protecting families.
Amazing. What law school did you go to?
I went to Yale.
Oh.
And
Yale, also an Ivy League school. So now you know who we're talking to. Okay, so you go to Yale Law School, you graduate, and then let's fast forward because I want to talk about city attorney. Okay, you've decided. So what are you currently doing right now? Because I know you're a candidate, you're running, but people need to understand you actually have a full-time job.
I do have a full-time job. I work at the California Department of Justice as a deputy attorney general, which title for identification purposes only, and not conferring any sort of endorsement by the OJ or the AG. I have to always say the disclaimer, I'm a lawyer.
Appreciate that.
But I'm in consumer protection. So the California Attorney General can sue any business for anything unlawful, unfair, or deceptive. The same power actually that the LA City Attorney has. And at the AG's office, we have been doing this for decades. And so the stuff that I work on, I go after landlords that are unlawfully evicting tenants, that are, failing to make repairs that keep people in horrible conditions like mold and, asbestos and infestation. Right in end of February, I actually was able to win back $500,000 for tenants in Northern California. So that was really special. And I'm currently part of a 30-state action against Meta.
Good.
Yeah, we are arguing that they have crafted the apps to basically be addictive, to induce compulsive use, particularly among kids. And we're trying to recover for all the harms and all the deception when they've said their apps are safe, but they're not. So really from the small kind of corporate violators all the way up to the billion-dollar companies, the attorney general and the city attorney by extension can hold these companies accountable. And that's the true power of these offices.
And so while you're running your campaign, you're also actively in court. And I know the big one is against Meta right now.
Yeah.
So you're doing 2 things.
I'm a little exhausted.
I can imagine. And so on that point, just because I do focus a lot on women empowerment, wellness, the holistic approach, and everything that it takes to be a able-bodied, effective leader and woman, How do you take care of yourself?
This is probably not the greatest theme for the podcast, but it's something that I need to learn and grow on.
It's great. No, it's wonderful because by you saying that, how many times do you feel seen when you hear another woman say something? Yeah. So I applaud you for even being brave enough to admit that, because most women want to appear strong because we've been taught through the patriarchy, you got to be strong, and a strong person doesn't break down. It's not like we're breaking down. We're human.
Oh, absolutely. And the truth is I don't have it together. This is a phase in life, I think, where I am working harder than I've ever worked.
With the time that I have, I would really just like to educate people. What does a city attorney do, right? For a concerned citizen like myself.
Yeah.
What would you explain your job role to me as?
So it is probably one of the most important, least understood positions. On the one hand, the city attorney is the attorney for the city. So anytime the city's sued, the city attorney defends. They write the ordinances usually. They do a lot of advising for departments. But then they have another client that isn't talked about enough, and that is the people.
Thank you.
When they represent the people, they can sue any business for anything unlawful, unfair, or deceptive. That means the companies that are stealing wages, the abusive landlords that are unlawfully evicting people, the corporate polluters, which I think is particularly salient right now as we see, the warehouse fire that Lineage Logistics in Boyle Heights.
Absolutely. And so bringing up Boyle Heights, we are actively, as we're recording this, the fire is out or not, I don't know. What we don't know, the public doesn't know. We really do feel like we're in the dark. From a concerned citizen who has, who loves her city and wants to protect her community, what can I understand that the city attorney can do in this immediate moment and then in the coming future? Because I'm very active on social media and in my community, and I've not heard at all from our city attorney at all. What can a city attorney be doing in this moment?
So the city attorney, whenever the city attorney has just simply a reasonable belief that a corporation has violated the law, they can immediately open an investigation. We know that they have been cited across the country for poor storage of ammonia.
So they have a track record.
They have a track record. And we know that their sister facility in Vernon was cited by the EPA as recently as last year. So that is enough for us to initiate an investigation. I think it's not going to be an investigation of just Lineage Logistics. There's also they're leasing the building, so we're gonna have to look into the building owner. We're gonna have to look into the fire might be related to some of the solar panels, so the manufacturer possibly. It doesn't matter how many companies we need to investigate. We need to get to the bottom of what company was responsible for this fire, was responsible also for the leaking of gas into the fire and into the smoke. And then we need to hold them responsible for community. And when we do this investigation and find the responsible parties, the next step is a lawsuit. And what we win from that lawsuit is recovery that can be reinvested into the communities affected, that can reimburse people who have made expenditures for air purifiers or healthcare or taking a senior or a child to the hospital, but also can be put into remediation, particularly for the Boyle Heights community, because I wish I could say that this is an isolated incident, but so often we see corporations pollute in our most underserved communities.
That's right.
And get away with it. And that's why we see kind of health disparities in these communities. We see differences in their air quality, differences in childhood asthma, in life expectancy, even
cancers,
all of it. And so these companies need to pay for what they have done to these communities.
That's right. And so what would you tell the public right now? Because people hear this and they're like, yes, finally somebody, a leader, actually standing up for us. When you're city attorney, of course, I know you will. What can the public do right now? What would you advise the public to do right now to continue to advocate, educate, and be smart about how they navigate not just the Boyle Heights, obviously, and East LA, and not just the Lineage Logistics situation, but in general, throughout the city? What would you advise the public to do?
Every single case I have ever built, I have built with community. So when I fought wage theft at 2 car washes in Silver Lake, 8 years ago now, we worked with an organization called Clean Car Wash to build that case. Even my most recent case against the abusive landlord up north, we were working directly with tenants. the best way to build cases in my mind is to build them with community, because that is how we are able to reflect people's stories of harm and then also get them the recovery that they really deserve. And so, it's so hard being in this position where I'm running for city attorney, but not there yet.
Not
and
yet.
I wish I could open an investigation tomorrow.
Right.
But I can commit that on day one, I will be opening that investigation. And what would help is if everyone in the community, not just with Lineage Logistics, but with any other corporate abuse, if they are able to document, to keep records, to keep the receipts of any expenditures, to document the harm they're experiencing, the health harm, the property damages, take pictures. Because one thing that I'm going to do when I'm city attorney is set up a really robust kind of complaint intake system.
Oh.
We're going to bring the community in for listening sessions. We're going to make sure that we are getting the information directly from community, and that is what is informing our investigations and our lawsuits. So I'd say what would help me the most now is that in this interim where we're still in the campaign but not in office, make sure to try to just keep all those records, because once we are in office, we are going to be opening that investigation the next day, and we'll need all of that documentation and information.
Also known as it's time to sue their asses.
Yes.
So last thing I'd like to touch on, immigration. Everyone wants to know, why is nobody doing anything in Los Angeles to prevent immigration rates? People don't understand civics. They don't understand, and rightfully so. We weren't educated to it. Does the city attorney have any jurisdiction or say on these immigration raids, these unlawful tactics that violate our Constitution and democracy?
Absolutely. Actually, the city attorney is the most important local leader in the fight against Trump. She's just been absent. So, the city attorney can sue the Trump administration.
And our city attorney in Los Angeles has not.
She has not led a single lawsuit. And you see other cities like San Francisco leading these lawsuits. It was San Francisco that sued Trump over the birthright citizenship order.
Yes.
The LA city attorney did not join that case. When Trump sent the National Guard into Los Angeles, it was the California Department of Justice that sued, not our city attorney. And, in the first administration, I represented LA County as outside counsel in over a dozen lawsuits against the Trump administration. So this is my bread and butter, is suing the Trump administration, and it's what I know how to do. So we would be suing the Trump administration day one. We would be prosecuting rogue ICE agents. And then the third piece that is like my consumer protection background is we would be suing any company that is facilitating ICE's reign of terror, the Palantirs that are providing the mass surveillance technology.
So like the third-party private ones.
Exactly.
How would you be able to sue them?
They're a company doing anything unlawful. That is when I say the city attorney can sue any company for anything unlawful, unfair, or deceptive. It is broad. The private prison companies that are denying healthcare.
Thank you.
They're private companies.
Thank you.
We can sue.
And to date, the Los Angeles city attorney, as we speak right now, has not filed anything against anyone that we know of.
And trust me, I've been vocal on the campaign trail, so she could.
Okay. Well, she's on her way out, so we're going to just have to ride that wave until we get you in office. So with that, I really appreciate your time. I know you're short on it, and I stand as, a resource to get your word out. I appreciate the education. It's so important to acknowledge is the greatest equalizer, making sure people, regardless of how much schooling or not, how much experience or not they've had, to feel included in the conversation, to understand that their voice absolutely matters. Everyone's vote absolutely matters. Now we know more than ever. And to educate themselves to the right candidates, to the people who actually will be their voice, because we're ultimately hiring. We are the ones hiring these candidates.
Right.
Your position. And so, again, I appreciate you. And I look forward to having you back when you're city attorney.
I'm so excited.
Thanks for being here, friend.
Of course. Thanks, Gina.
Bye.